fell in love with London. I just fell in love with kind of the lifestyle, the lifestyle and the fact that, yeah, you can work, but you also can have a life at the same time. And then I decided to move abroad after university, and that's where I got hit with all the crazy nonsense of being an American abroad and having to pay US taxes and like the downsides of, having to deal with two different countries. And, from there, basically through my own personal experience of just hating that part, the financial part of being an expat, I decided to create my Expat Taxes, which is the leading tax software for Americans living abroad to file their US taxes.
You're listening to Queer Travel Chat by Two Bad Tourists. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Queer Travel Chat. My name is Austin. I am one half of the blogger duo Two Bad Tourists, and joining me here on my left in the podcast studio in Madrid is David.
Hola, hello everyone.
Yes, today we are famous. We just got a copy of this book, The Lonely Planet.
Yes, we took a break from
Travel Guide.
As we took a break from recording.
Yes, and we are actually
somebody came to deliver it.
Page 54.
How cool!
Which is all about Madrid. So go check it out. I'm sure you can find it online.
I mean, this is really cool. I think it's the first time we're in a book.
It's the first time we've ever been in an actual published book, and it's by Lonely Planet. That's pretty impressive.
Are people still using books though to plan travel?
I don't know. I mean, they sent us a copy.
Whatever, so. It's cool.
Anyways, the episode is not about that, nor the guide, nor anything. We are actually here. What are we on? Episode 4, David?
Yes, we're on episode 4. So what did we record last time?
Last time we recorded the Gay Wine Weekend with Gary.
Mm-hmm. And since that last podcast episode, we actually went on a whole trip to the Caribbean. We were there for 2 weeks on a cruise with Virgin Voyages. The first week, we hosted a group of 28 guests as part of our annual group trips that we usually do 4 or 5 a year. Mm-hmm. And then we stayed on a second week for ourselves as just a working vacation. So it was a really fun trip. It was quite successful, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like the guests really vibed with each other. Yeah. And they had really good chemistry.
It was one of the better ones as far as that because I felt like it maybe some people weren't connecting at the beginning, but then by the end of the week, people were starting to open up more, and they were just all really good group of people. So that was really fun. We had 2 fantastic trip leaders helping us out as well. My sister Megan, who's done a couple trips before, and
brought your grandma.
Dan. Oh, well, Dan first.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Dan, our friend who lives in London, helped us out for the first time, and then my Nana and my other sister Tasia came on, but as guests.
Right.
And they were, not Tasia so much.
Nana was a hit.
Yeah, she was a hit.
We love you, Tasia.
Tasia, she was there to help Nana. No, they love all our guests love both of them, but Nana loves to have a good time. And she's 91 this month, I believe.
She was the wife of every party.
Love to see her having a good time. We went to Puerto Plata, San Juan, and St. Croix, and then we went to the Bimini Beach Club in the Bahamas as well. So some good stops, a fun cruise, great weather the whole time.
It was great weather for, the whole 2 weeks, maybe 1 or 2 quick days of rain.
And we missed the 2 weeks of terrible weather here in Madrid that we just flew back to. So I'm ready for that to be over. And then where did we go on the last week when we stayed on ourselves?
So we were in Roatan, which is an island in Honduras. Costa Maya is Mexico, south of Cancun, and then back to Bimini Beach Club in Bahamas.
I had never heard of Roatan until we went there, and then I started Googling it. And then if you watch Love is Blind, you know that they all go to Roatan too during their vacation. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I literally just learned about it. And they have little bugs there that bite you, little gnats,
and leave little marks, but you don't see them because they're so tiny.
I was it looked like I had the chicken pox, but.
Well,
anyways, it was fun.
Yeah, so on today's episode, we're talking all about moving to Spain, talking about expat challenges, and on today's show, we will actually be talking with Nathalie Goldstein, who is the CEO and co-founder of My Expat Taxes. We're going to be talking about the tax difficulties that U.S. expats can face when living abroad and what you can do about them. So we're talking about things of, as an American living abroad, you still have to file in the U.S. We live in Spain. We have to file in Spain, whether or not you pay in what country. It's sort of all the complicated things we'll get into.
And we'll give you advice about how to hide your money and how to avoid paying tax.
Oh my God, no, we definitely won't do that. So in any case, My Expat Taxes is the sponsor of today's episode. So I just want to say thank you so much, Nathalie and My Expat Taxes, for joining us. But besides that, as much as I love love talking about taxes. We're going to talk more about how we actually moved to Spain, some of the things we've kind of gone through in terms of
and the different visas for Spain.
and just some of the challenges that we face. So that's the idea for today.
So before we bring Nathalie on and get into the interview, you know, I love to do my fun facts and stuff. So I thought it'd be cool to check out some facts about expats living specifically in Spain.
Mhm.
So and you know, talk about just to think about why do people choose Spain, and if you should choose Spain if you want to move abroad.
So the answer is yes.
The answer is definitely yes. But there is the Expat Insider 2024 survey, which is done by Internations, which is the world's largest study of expatriate life. And so there's a lot of information on internations.org, I believe is the website. So in 2024, they interviewed 12,500 expats from 175 different countries.
They didn't interview us.
Or different nationalities, I should say. No, they didn't get us.
But we're in Lonely Planet.
Winning. But also just go to tubetours.com for your travel information. It's just faster. Yeah. Anyway, so I thought it was cool to get this information from the survey because there's a lot of useful information and rankings about what people are looking for and what countries their expats are particularly the happiest living in. So there are 5 main indices to the survey. So they look at quality of life, working abroad, referring to your career opportunities and satisfaction. They look at expat essentials like digital life, housing, the language barrier, ease of settling in. So adjusting to the culture, your friends, how welcoming it is, and then personal finances. So those are kind of the 5 main things they look at. And what's curious about Spain is that despite not scoring in the top 10 of those 4 of the 5 indices, so 4 out of the 5, they weren't even in the top 10 of those things. Only 1 of them were, but still Spain ranked 4th overall out of 53 countries in the survey of 2024. So overall, when you look at everything, it's still number 4. We'll get into the whole rankings later. So 84% of expats say they're happy in Spain versus 68% globally. So it is kind of skewing more towards Spain because of the climate, because of the healthcare, and because of the cost of living being quite affordable. So I'm going to get into the particular ranking for Spain. So the one indice of the 5 that they did get into the top 5 is quality of life, where they are number 1 out of 53 countries. And so that includes the public transit here, the climate, leisure options, healthcare, the safety and security.
Check.
Yeah, so definitely that. Then it's definitely lower in the other one. So working abroad, it only ranked 27. So Spain's 27 out of 53. So that's career opportunities. I mean, it's
that's true.
Difficult for
I would say it's hard to make like a lot of money in Spain. Most people just have a very average job.
So 1 is the career opportunity, and 2 is also just the salary itself. So those are
that's fair.
It's
not the easiest. But despite that, people still enjoy like the quality of life.
Yeah, I mean, I taught English here for 8 years, and it was definitely not my passion, and it was not well paid, but I did it because I loved being here and it was worth it. I'm glad to be out of it now, working in travel and tourism, but I did my time. The next one was expat essentials. So Spain ranks 18 out of 53 for this. So that means digital life, admin topics, housing, language, things like that. So, maybe a little bit more difficult. Ease of settling in, 11 out of 53. So that refers to, how friendly are the locals? How easy is it to meet friends? How welcoming is it? What's the culture like? Yeah. So not bad. I mean, I think that from what I've heard, we've only ever lived in Madrid, but from what I've heard for expats moving to Spain, if you move to small towns or medium-sized cities, it's a little bit more difficult because those locals have been friends with each other since childhood.
Yeah, sure.
But in a bigger city like Madrid or Barcelona, where there's so many expats, there's also so many Spaniards from all over the country that go there for opportunity. So everyone's kind of looking for friends. And our experience has been
the same.
Very friendly and very easy to meet people here. Personal finance, Spain ranks 14 out of 53. Not surprising. And then again, overall happiness, general happiness, 4th out of 53. So good rankings. These are just kind of some more interesting facts about the expats that are living in Spain. So the average age is 50 years old. So I think that's because of a lot of retirement, a skew for that. Gender split, 43% male, 57% female. Top reasons for moving, 20% for a better quality of life. I think that's kind of us, right?
Yeah, definitely.
9% to retire abroad, not us. And 9% simply to enjoy living abroad. Well, that would also be us. Intended length of the stay, 51% say
Possibly forever.
Possibly forever.
Wow.
15% longer than 5 years, and 15% don't know. So we're definitely in the possibly forever
We're
category.
in the possibly forever.
And the top sectors for expats moving abroad: 16% work in information technology, 12% in education, would have been me, and 8% in marketing and communication.
Yeah.
So some interesting breakdowns. In 2023, the top 3 cities for expats overall. So this is just 2 years ago.
In the entire world.
Of all the cities, you know, the ranking where expats are living, the top 3 were all Spanish cities. So Malaga, Alicante, and Valencia. So that's not even ranking for Spain. That was globally, and they were all in Spain. So definitely people. And I heard Malaga is definitely.
Also, I just bought an apartment in Malaga.
You did, yes.
Which I think we're going to do a different episode separately about buying property in Spain if anyone is interested.
So yeah, that'll be a good episode, and I think that has to be its own episode if we were going to include it in this. But it's a lot of information.
It was a pain in the ass.
So as we said, Spain is ranked. It's the 4th country overall, but I think it's very curious to kind of list out the top 10. Do you want to take it?
Okay, so in no particular order, except for in order from 0 to 1.
And I think what's curious to me,
1 to 10.
What's curious is Spain is the only European country in the whole top 10.
Yeah, this list actually confused me. So I'm just going to list them off. So the number 1 country, I never would have guessed this. Number 1 is Panama.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is Mexico.
Mexico makes sense because a lot of Americans are moving. It's an easy move for them, and very close.
And a lot of people retire there. Yeah, your money goes further. 3 is Indonesia. Never would have expected that. I don't know anything about people moving to Indonesia.
Yeah.
Spain was number 4.
But maybe like a lot, because it's not just an American perspective. So maybe it's like a lot of Aussies and.
So it's expats all around the world moving all around the world.
Because it's from hundreds of nationalities moving all around. So it's not an American perspective. So sense. A lot. I could see a lot of
on that part of the world.
Exactly.
People moving to like
exactly.
Asia.
That makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, whereas Americans might go to Mexico or Panama, people from that part of the world might go to Asia. Okay. All right, number 5, Colombia.
Which we have at least one friend that we know from the US
and
living
he loves
there.
It. Yeah. He loves it, much like us.
People are definitely speaking highly of Colombia.
I agree. You have Thailand, number 6. That doesn't surprise me. People just love Thailand. Yeah. A lot of people love Thailand, and it's just a chill place. Number 7, Brazil. Number 8, Vietnam. Number 9, the Philippines. So again, the Asian theme there. Mm-hmm. And then number 10, the United Arab Emirates.
Which is kind of known for having a lot of expats there.
Yeah, it is known for that.
So that one's not too surprising. But super interesting, right?
Yeah,
kind of a breakdown of all the facts of, I mean, this is a survey, so it's just people's opinions. And,
definitely.
But it was a nice breakdown.
So obviously, anyone who has moved abroad will tell you there's lots of challenges that you'll face when you become an expat and have to deal with 2 countries. So we're going to talk to Nathalie about her experience as an expat, and then how she has helped people navigate the tax challenge. But of course, before we do that, if you like this show, please subscribe to it on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, please be sure to leave a 5-star review if you enjoy our episodes. That helps us a lot.
That's 5 stars, not 4.
Rankings. And if you're watching live on any social media platform, please feel free to leave us a comment, a like, or share the episode with your friends. That helps us get the word out. And of course, you can always follow us on social media. We're always at 2 Bad Tourists. All right, so let's go ahead and bring Nathalie onto the show. Welcome, Nathalie.
Hi, Nathalie.
Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us. You're calling in all the way from Vienna, I think, right?
Yes, we're from Vienna, and it's really great at the moment, and I'm missing California, but it is what it is.
Okay, amazing. So is California like your original home?
Yes. So I'm from San Jose, California, which is not to be confused with Southern California, which is the fun part of California. San Jose is like the boring Silicon Valley, just sitting in a car commuting part of California, but still sunny.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your expat experience. How did you end up in Vienna?
Well, I could say it's a long story, but I don't really think it is. My husband's Austrian. I think that makes it easy. Okay, that's it.
Thank you for joining us.
All right.
Thank you. That's the end of the story. Yeah, no, so I can make it long now.
We do want some details. It's always interesting to hear like how you make how people make the move.
Yeah, so the longer version, right, is I was studying at my university, meet this Austrian, man at a party. And then I think I'll never see him again. He leaves, goes back, he was studying abroad. And then I end up, 2 years later, having an opportunity to study abroad in London. And as your typical American, I'm saying, well, I know somebody in Europe.
Oh,
I'm just gonna hit them up because
Yeah,
Vienna
right,
and
right.
London, it's the same. It's
100%.
basically and one thing led to another, and I decided, I would actually rather live here in Europe. And I think that the life quality was just a lot more amazing. As I joked in the beginning, it was just fascinating to me that you could walk places,
Right.
Yes.
right? Because I was just like, you get in a car, you drive 20, 30 minutes, and then you walk at the mall. Like the
Right.
mall is where you walk.
That's the most walking you do.
That is the most walk.
Yeah.
That was my Sunday morning exercise. Go to the mall and walk, and then also, exercise my wallet and bank account. But that was a life I didn't really like. And then I fell in love with Vienna. I fell in love with London. I just fell in love with kind of the lifestyle, the lifestyle and the fact that, yeah, you can work, but you also can have a life at the same time. And then I decided to move abroad after university. And that's where I got hit with all the crazy nonsense of being an American abroad and having to pay US taxes and like the downsides of, having to deal with two different countries. And from there, basically through my own personal experience of just hating that part, the financial part of being an expat, I decided to create my Expat Taxes, which is the leading tax software for Americans living abroad to file their US taxes. So not as interesting as the move, but I still think it spurred at least from a interesting personal pain point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it definitely has saved our butts. We used it last year, and we're recording this now in March, and I was just talking to Austin. I was like, "Oh God, do we have to do our taxes again?" Like, it's already complicated in your home country or just in the U.S., but then infinitely more complicated being abroad, and it just makes me want to cry.
And
then
I
want to sit on the floor and
I
cry.
told David, we're expats, so we have until June. Like, don't sweat it. Let's just take it slow.
No worries. It really should not be so stressful. Like when I first moved abroad, I remember I asked, because I moved abroad also with my company. Like there's a bunch of different versions of my story, but I gave you like the really fun part. But anyways, I remember I asked my company that helped me move, can you help me with my taxes? And they're like, just talk to our Big Four partner. And then I sent them an email, and they're like, yeah, it costs $2,000 to start this conversation. And I'm like, I don't get paid enough to pay you.
Right. Oh my God.
And then you go through the whole loop of like trying, and this was back in 2015. So that I went through the whole loop of trying to find, whatever tax softwares were working in the US. And it was like, oh, 5 times later, it seems like you may be abroad. Do you have foreign income? I live in Austria. Just accept that. And yeah, so that is how my Expat Taxes came to be. And I'm glad that it helped you too. And that's really my goals, because I am also, it's not fun for anyone. I guess it's a little bit more interesting for me because I like the tax part of it. And I know probably I'm the only one in the world that likes it, but it is still also stressful. And I just hope that my Expat Taxes does make it less stressful for everyone that's in this. We're all in it together, right?
Yes. What did you study at university?
So I studied finance, and, it was finance with a lot of focus into accounting. My mom's an accountant. My dad was a product manager at an IT company. So I guess the two of them together made me in terms of my career.
So tell us a little bit, like, what exactly is My Expat Taxes, and how can it help Americans living abroad, like, versus, because we all know there's tax software in the US, like, why doesn't that work?
So the tax offers in the US, they're made for people in the US, right? They don't care about us Americans abroad, because even though there's 9 million of us, they think, well, there's a lot more Americans living in America, so we're going to focus on that segment. And they create tax software that just doesn't work for us. Like they want us to have, US credit cards, US phone numbers, US addresses, and they want us to put everything in USD, and they just don't care about the aspect of being abroad. And it is more complex than your taxes, because, you have the foreign bank accounts, you have the foreign currencies, and there's a couple other hoops to jump through to get to compliance, because the IRS is just very concerned. I don't know why, about the average expat doing money laundering. And so that's why they just make us file all these additional forms. And that's where my Expat Taxes really comes into play, is that you go in, you sign in, and then you enter your income in the local currency. We'll convert it for you. You enter in your bank accounts in the same system. So we'll also handle your tax return along with your foreign bank account reports. And then we'll also check for other things that the normal US tax softwares will miss, such as like foreign pensions, if you have a foreign self-employment business, what other disclosure forms you need, if you have foreign companies, you have foreign investments. And the problem is we have a lot of people that don't know about us yet. And so they're using the US-based tax softwares or US-based family accountants. And they'll come to us and we'll be like, oh, I'm like really sorry to tell you, but you're missing, X, Y, and Z. And they'll have to do all of those tax returns again, or basically come back into compliance. And that's why if you are abroad, it's really important that you find, a tax software or at least an accountant that understands the complexity of being an American abroad and how to file that tax return.
It has been our experience as well, that particular challenge of like, we've worked with an accountant in the US, and of course they understand taxes experts from the US perspective. And then we've met with Spanish accountants that understand Spain, but not the US. And so finding, one that was understanding your exact situation as an expat has been very challenging. We've gotten, like misinformation or conflicting advice from accountants. And that's just, you're just like, what do we like? Help us.
Right.
It should not be that complex, right?
Really it's like, if you don't know, how am I supposed to know? That's why you need somebody. Yeah, I agree that can help you for that particular situation. Can you work with expats living in any country abroad, like My Expat Taxes?
Exactly. So we work with really anyone that has any type of international assets. So you could be an American living in any country outside of America. You could also be living in America and maybe you just moved back from being abroad, but you still have international income, international assets. We also have people that are not American that are living either in the US or they're just somehow connected to the US. So our software is really there for people that have more than just a US employer, right? That they have some type of international aspect to their income stream or to the assets that they hold. And then we'll make sure that we figure out, okay, what is all the things you need to ensure your compliance? Because as I said, the IRS gets really weird the second that you earn money abroad or that you invest money abroad.
Okay, so we've been talking about like how complex this process is, but how complicated is it to actually start with your software?
Super easy. You just go to myexpattaxes.com, you enter your name, create a profile, and then from there you just select kind of what your tax profile is, right? Are you still having US income? Do you only have foreign income? And so you really click what's the specific thing that fits you. And we have, we cover it all, right? Whether you are salaried, you're self-employment, you have, a foreign incorporated company, if you are maybe primarily taking care of your children at home and you have maternity or paternity like payments, whatever your situation, unemployment, we have basically the box for you to click and just enter in those details. And then from there, you just enter what you make income-wise, what your bank accounts are, and then we will calculate all of the forms for you. And we also have different support tiers. So those that just, I don't want to talk to anyone. I want to do it all by myself. I just don't want to interact with another human. We have, our base plan, which is do it yourself. If you have someone that is like, well, I want advice, but I don't really want to pay that much, we have a middle plan that is reviewed and you do it yourself essentially. And then you have a tax professional look through your return and say, okay, actually hold up. This is a little bit, doesn't seem too accurate. Can you clarify a few points? And then they'll make sure that that return is, complete, accurate, and they'll sign off on it. And then we have our premium plan where like, well, actually, I just want to give you my documents and like some basic information. And I really want you to take the lead on this process. So, whatever type of person you are in terms of taxes, whatever income profile you have, you could use My Expat Taxes and really find kind of the plan that meets your needs.
I think we did the mid-tier last year.
Yeah, I think we did that one.
Somebody to
no, it was super helpful to have someone
it.
to like just verify
please.
Did I do this right or did I not do this right? Okay, so if someone is listening to this episode, they're an American abroad, they're like, oh no, April 15th is coming up. Like, is that really like the date for Americans who are abroad? Like, tell us a little bit about the deadlines.
Yeah, so April 15th is the payment deadline, and there are a good amount of Americans abroad that do pay taxes. Most don't. Most Americans abroad don't pay taxes to the US, but of course, if you still have a lot of US source income, if you still have income that maybe you're not reporting where you live locally, we're not going to tell your local country, but just saying if that's you, if you maybe are self-employed and you live in a country that doesn't necessarily have all the treaties with the US, it can happen that you owe taxes. And so April 15th is definitely an important deadline to get in and just see, okay, do I owe taxes?
Mhm.
If I've ever owed taxes before, I should probably look at April 15th. But if you're like, I know I pay enough taxes abroad, I know I'm not going to owe any taxes to the US, then you can definitely wait until June 16th this year. It's
Okay.
normally June 15th, but then that falls on a weekend, so it's June 16th. And then, of course, everyone has the option to extend the filing until October 15th. So
Gotcha.
basically, I think for Americans, their tax season runs up to April 15th. And for us Americans, we have the joy of just having tax season the entire year.
Yeah.
That did
Well,
happen to me one year. We had to do an extension until October, and then by the time
yeah, it
the
was like
spring came around again, I was like, "No, we just did this."
well,
But I'm not going to worry about it till June this
yeah,
year.
the June 15th
That's
or June
us.
16th is a procrastinator's dream come
That-
true. We
that's
can just
yeah.
keep putting it off.
We know we
You
pay
know,
in Spain
you
plenty.
say that, but then it's spring, and then it's like the summer weather, and then it gets really hard because I think April is like, okay, well, the weather's not great, so I'll do my taxes because I have nothing else to do. And then you just see once June comes, the extensions start flying in because they're like, well, I'm sorry, I accidentally planned a couple too many,
Right.
summer vacation trips before this.
Yeah.
I can see that happening too easily.
Mhm.
Nelly, is there anything else that you wish that we had asked you, or something else you wish to share before we wrap up?
For me, the main thing is I know that filing US taxes is daunting and stressful, but my main message is always look at it as an opportunity. Because if you are an American, you have the opportunity to invest in the American market. And that's usually a pretty good market to invest in. And through your US tax return, there's a lot of things that you can actually plan for. You can still contribute potentially to your individual retirement accounts, like a Roth IRA. You could still potentially contribute to US Social Security benefits so that you can get retirement benefits from both countries later on. There's a lot to kind of optimize there. Maybe you're still doing investments in US brokerages. And so don't look at this US tax return as like, oh, this is annoying and useless. Look at it more as a tool of like, hey, maybe I can do a little bit more financial planning, and then I have an advantage to my neighbor who's only investing in the Spanish market, but I can also invest in the Spanish and the US market. Obviously there's going to be some more hurdles to go through. If you're doing that to ensure you're compliant on both sides, it can definitely be worth it. And so it's not all bad. And again, if you have children that are under the age of 17 with the US Social Security number and you're living in a high income tax country, you might even be getting a refund of, $1,700 per year for that kid. And my last PSA, if you haven't filed your 2021 tax return and you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, I got to do this one day, please do it by April 15th. Because if you do, you're probably going to get a refund of $1,400. And why would you let the IRS just take that away from you? Claim it. Please claim it, and you can do it with My Expat Taxes through our streamlining procedure.
I think those are great pro tips with the
great.
IRA, with the the U.S. pension as well. Just things that you may not know as you're living abroad,
and things that we've all been going through. You and I have been going through ourselves.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially when we moved abroad, in our 20s, it's not necessarily the first thing we're thinking about. It's like our pensions and 30 years
But
away.
now
But
we're like,
for
now
sure
we're like,
now,
okay,
yeah.
Now you think about it, right?
Yeah,
I'm in the same boat. You don't think about it 10 years ago, but now
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, that's
getting a
great
little bit
thing.
closer.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's advantages that you should take for being American. That
For
it
sure,
is a
for
good
sure.
market to invest in. So great tips.
Okay, so Natalie, this is a travel podcast, of course, so we always like to wrap up with the question, where are you traveling to next?
Next would be to Florence. So I just came back from London, and then after April 15th, we'll be heading over to Florence with a night train with Vienna. It will be our first time. I have
that's
2
great.
little kids, so that will the hope is that it's easier to be in a night train than it is flying with
Yeah.
kids. But I'm also going to be stuck in a train for 11 hours, so
Right.
I will see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
But we have like the sleeper cabin and everything, so hopefully that'll be well. And I'm looking forward to just seeing how beautiful Florence is.
I've heard wonderful things. Have you ever been?
I've never. That's like one of the few places in Italy.
Yes,
super expensive. Super
expensive
expensive city. Like I'm like mind blown. I'm like looking for accommodation and like things to do, and I'm just like I was not expecting that price point,
Okay,
but
so
okay.
off season.
Good to know. Yeah, good to know.
I don't even think I'm in the main season yet because they don't even have the gondola boats until May, so I'm still in the off season. But like, yeah, I'm sure it's going to be beautiful because at least that's what my wallet is telling me that it should be worth it.
You're paying for
better
it.
be, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
like I've never heard a bad thing said about Florence. People really speak very
Yeah.
highly of it, so it sounds like a great. This is a vacation, I assume, right?
Yeah, vacation.
Well,
Vacation.
well-deserved time off.
Amazing.
Well, thank you so much, Natalie, for joining us and telling us more about my Expat Taxes. We will definitely be using it again this year.
And kicking us in the butt to
Perfect.
get our gear into action.
Yeah, maybe by April 15th. We'll see.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
Yes,
Yeah, of
it's been a
course.
pleasure. Take care.
Enjoy Florence.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was a super interesting conversation with Natalie. As much as, you know, we joke about like taxes as a pain in the ass, but like honestly, it's something we all have to do every year. And it honestly has, since we started using that software, it's like really made the stress go down.
Yeah, because you really do need somebody who knows your particular
Exactly.
situation. And I do think we've talked about this. I feel like we're this generation of kind of trailblazers who are expats living abroad because of remote work, because of the internet, because it's, you know, everything's so much more globalized. So many more people are leaving their countries and living abroad. And there are just adjustments where like the world hasn't caught up to like the demand of, you know, expats abroad and what our particular needs are. I definitely think it's getting there, but like softwares like my Expat Taxes are like things that are necessary. And I think we're going to see more and more of that stuff to help us transition into living abroad.
If anyone works in the industry that requires the 6-digit codes to send to your text phone number, like if you have an American bank account and it needs like fix that, please. Like that is a fucking pain in my ass.
What you're referring to, so we're on a cruise ship, we're working from the Caribbean, so it's like working vacation, and we needed to have access to like a bank account or even our website.
Yeah, I needed to make a bank transfer. I literally had to wait 6 days to get off that ship.
And because we don't have coverage in the Caribbean, we don't have it with our Spain cell phone number. We had coverage with like a Gig Sky, which is a different one that we use.
But the bank would only send it to my
your
Spanish cell
phone number that you can't have access to,
and then
until
you can't change it because you have to have access to your cell phone to change it. So I was just like, I guess I
things
won't have
like
my money
that.
for 6 days.
It drives me crazy. Which is why I did port my number over to Google though, and then Google emails.
But there are some banks that won't accept Google numbers.
Oh, see?
Yeah, so just like fix this somehow.
Little by little.
Apparently we got the taxes thing down, but please fix the like 6-digit security code thing.
But I mean, don't you see what I'm saying? Like,
the world has not caught up.
This is the frustrating part. It makes you just want to like, I just want to sit on the floor and cry sometimes. It's worth it. It's just so hard.
Yes.
All right, well, let's get into our specific experience being expats and how we ended up in Madrid. I mean, we've told our story many times, but kind of more from the like legal visa perspective.
So let's turn back the clock to 12, 13 years ago. We were sitting, I don't know where, probably we had just finished like our 1-year around the world trip, but we knew we wanted to move to Spain. Like we didn't want to go back to the US. And so David found a language assistant program here in Spain called Auxiliares de Conversación. And with this program, you could basically get a Spanish visa. It was the equivalent of a student visa.
Mm-hmm. It's a student visa, although you're not studying, and it's kind of but you're in the education system. And with the student visa, it kind of prevents you from leaving that particular job and working.
So it was a really simple way to get to Spain. He didn't even need teaching experience. You just needed like a 4-year like university degree. And then you just applied
for
like
a low level of Spanish at least.
Yeah, so he did that for the first 2 years. Mm-hmm. That program is limited for 2 years in the same city, so you had to find another program. So then you did a master's program, which extended your visa.
That one is called Teach and Learn through the Franklin Institute, in case anyone's curious.
And the way that I got to stay is we purposely, although we had a wedding ceremony in the US, it wasn't legal at the time. So when we came here, we weren't legally married. We purposely got legally married in Spain so then I could qualify for the spouse visa. So I was basically just, taking your visa.
And we just got divorced last year. It took so long.
Oh gosh.
But that's how you were able to be here. I mean, we were, as you said, we wanted to be married at the time. It just wasn't legal in our country.
So we just did the documents so that I could actually, qualify for the visa. And then after 3 years on that sort of student teaching visa, we then qualified for temporary residency, but we needed like a company to actually sponsor us. And in that, David got a job teaching English at an English academy that was like a formal job that did sponsor the visa.
And they wanted, like, it was focused on American English, which is why, because Spain is like the US in the sense, like, if they can give the job to a national like the US,
Yeah,
then they're going
they
to
will.
prioritize it. And Spain not only has to do that for Spaniards, but also for the European Union.
Yeah, before an American.
Exactly. And this is before Brexit. So then a lot of British teachers could come here easily, and they're native speakers of English.
Right.
But this was kind of an American English focused academy, which is how I got it. It was a horrible 2 years. I won't
You won't
put
get
their
into
name
it,
out.
nor put the name
I
out.
won't put their name out there,
No
but I also won't
problem.
recommend them.
Yeah.
But once you have that, then you can leave and get any other job that you want.
Yeah. Well, and basically, so you'd been teaching for 5 years. After 5 years, we became permanent residents, and then after 5 years of permanent residence, you can get you can renew your permanent residence and stay indefinitely every 5 years, or you can actually qualify or apply for nationality, or get the passport.
Yeah. So for us, that totals up to 13 years, 3 years on our student visa, 5 years on a temporary visa, and then 5 years on a permanent as a permanent resident. So my understanding is, because we're only going to renew for the first time our permanent residency next year, my understanding is it's pretty straightforward. But we do qualify for citizenship as well next year. And although we don't have to apply, there's a couple reasons why I want to.
Well, yeah, because if for some reason you ever have to leave the country, you can just come back whenever you want.
Yeah.
There's no time limit if you have a passport, right? If you have the nationality of that country.
Yeah, under our visa right now, I believe the rule is that in those 5 years, we can leave up to 12 months, so a whole year, but not more than that, or we lose our status.
Okay.
So if I wanted to move back to the US for 2 years, you just want that freedom.
Right. Well, and the other thing is we actually can't vote. Right. So even though we're legal residents here, I think the only thing we can vote in is maybe like a local election. But you can't vote for like the president, for any of the like European elections or anything like that.
Yeah, which is, these are things now, because we've, been here 12 years. These are things that affect us directly. So I would love to be able to participate.
Yeah,
We vote for
exactly.
in the US.
So I think we definitely will. I think we'll apply for nationality.
Yeah. So that was our visa situation. Basically, what is it, a particular visa that we got?
We got well, the first one was a student visa, technically,
and then we rolled that into
temporary residency.
I'm asking and double checking that, because now, since 2022, I believe there's a remote worker visa, so a digital nomad visa, and that just didn't exist when we moved here.
Well, and it's a good example of like the times finally catching up with what people are doing. Because what we did 10 years ago, it was a pain in the ass to figure out how we could come and how we could stay. But now Spain has like recognized that people are working remotely, and, particularly past, post-COVID, like this is a thing, this is a trend, and they've actually stepped up and offered, this really cool visa.
Yeah, and it's been something that our friends and family have been taking advantage of.
So basically the idea is remote work, right? Like the idea is you already have a job outside of Spain for, a company or freelance, from the US or from the UK or whatever. And then you move to Spain and they give you this visa because you're not taking a Spanish job. You're just coming here with your job and your money, but you want to enjoy the quality of life while working, remotely from a beach or from Valencia or from Madrid or Malaga, whatever, right?
And so a quick rundown of the requirements in case that's interesting to you. I mean, that is probably the easiest route for most people wanting to come move to Spain is this particular remote worker visa if you're in that situation. So you need to first be able to prove that you earn 200% of the monthly minimum Spanish wage. So that comes out to more or less, depending on conversion rates, $2,800 per month, or $34,400 annual salary. So for an American, usually that's pretty achievable.
Yeah.
That's almost about the national average for Spain. So the minimum wage, just to point it out, is 1,134 euros in 14 payments. It's pretty standard, 14 payments throughout the year.
Okay.
So I kind of did that math, 2,800 per month, though, to do that conversion. You need a clean criminal record. You need to pay the visa fees. You need to have private health insurance and show that you have your own health insurance that is able to work in Spain, so that you're not kind of taking part of their public system necessarily. You need to have a certification that you have been working for at least 3 months in the company that you're working for, or if it's your own company, and then you need to have a copy of your university degree or some sort of professional certificate that shows, your studies for your particular job. So we've had our friend Stevie do this, who was a lawyer in the U.S. and now does her own like consulting firm here in Spain, because obviously she doesn't work as a lawyer. My sister just got this visa last year, who is a graphic designer and also works with us in Two Bad Tourists. And we're going to hopefully be able to take on our friend Dan, talking about having him come on our team as well.
Yeah. So the validity of these visas, there's kind of two ways you can do it. So if you apply from out of Spain and if you get accepted, it would be valid for 1 year. And then after that year, you could renew it for 2 more years for a total of 3 years, right? So the idea is this visa is designed to be 3 years if you want that full length. The other option, which is maybe better, depending on your situation, is you come to Spain and just kind of take the risk that it's going to get approved. And if they do, then it gets approved for 3 years right away. And the nice part is this: the immigration office is committed to giving you a decision like within 3 weeks. And if they don't, I think it automatically gets approved. So they understand that you need a decision right away. And in our experience, they have been doing that. Actually, that happened. That's how
Stevie and my sister Megan got it. The 3-year visa, they showed up. So for an American, you have your 90 days that you're allowed to be in Europe from the Schengen visa, regardless. So you can come in. And on that visa, just as a tourist, and then apply.
So
and
you
then,
have that 90-day window to get here, to send your application,
to
get approved. So, and then basically after that 3 years, it's my understanding that you then enter into the standard visa pathway that we talked about how we entered in, right? It goes into temporary residency for 5 years, and then you can do the permanent residency for another 5 years. So it's a way that if you want to be here long term, you can get into the system and then slowly, become a longer term.
You can become a permanent resident, and you could even stay long enough to apply for nationality if you wanted to. If you are living for a majority of the year in Spain, you do become a tax resident, and then for most standard situations, you'll be required to pay your taxes in Spain, which is why we're talking about this episode and why we're recommending taxes.
At the end of the day, like if you're moving to a foreign country or Spain and you're going to live here for 183 days or more out of the 365, maybe some people come here and don't realize this, but you have to pay taxes then in Spain instead of your home country or the US.
So essentially we still file our taxes in the US. We're required to file, but filing doesn't necessarily mean paying. So depending on your situation, like we just file it, but we don't owe anything in the US because we show that we've already paid our taxes here in Spain. So which tends to skew a little higher here.
It does, but people tend to have lower salaries, so it's all kind of
a sliding scale.
It's a sliding scale, and the tax rate here is higher. But at the end of the day, you actually have free healthcare here in Spain, right?
But you still have to, on that particular visa, you need to have your own private health insurance.
That's true.
Eventually, though, when you're as you're a permanent resident, or even when you're not on your digital nomad visa, you can get to the public system, and you will feel and see that savings for sure.
But even the private healthcare is not expensive.
And even the public transit here, though, is fantastic, regional and local. So you see what you pay for in your
foreign
taxes,
income, particularly if you're coming from the US or a higher earning country, like your money's going to go farther in Spain because salaries here are generally lower.
So I wanted to focus mostly on that visa, the digital nomad visa, because that is people's most likely opportunity if you wanted to move to Spain as a foreigner, especially as an American. There are other visas, though, that we can just kind of quickly run through. We won't go in as much detail. There is the golden visa, which is the one where if you buy property here in Spain that's worth 500,000 euros or more, you can get a residency visa. That is now gone.
It just got canceled, I think, last year, right?
Yeah, I think
because there's a housing crisis in Spain, so they need to limit foreigners coming in and just buying a property.
So my research tells me that if you do it by April 3rd, 2025,
wow.
So you've got depending on when you listen to this, maybe a week.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, that's out basically. A lot of people know about it, so I just wanted to mention that's no longer an option.
Another one is a non-lucrative visa. So basically this basically means that you don't have a job necessarily. You don't have a normal job, nor are you coming to Spain to take a Spanish job. So it could be something like maybe you're retired and you just have a pension, or maybe you're lucky enough to have like a some trust fund, or some money that just is coming from a bank account essentially. And so you can get approved. It's similar to the remote work visa in that sense. Some of the requirements are pretty similar.
Yeah, and I would just point out, like, you need to have at least an annual income of about 30,000 euros, which is, I don't know, 35.
But if you were retired and you wanted to come and move to Spain, I think that would be the route that you could take, because you probably have an IRA or a 401k or a pension or something like that. That is, you're not working, but you can prove that you have funds to support yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like that is the next one that's most probable for more people after the digital nomad visa. Other than that, there is, of course, the student visa, which is how I got started here. So if you're doing, you can literally come to just study the language, or through a university program like the master's that I mentioned, the government teaching program. You're teaching English, but through the government program gives you a student visa. What else is there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a regular work visa, right? If you just happen to find a Spanish company that you want to work for and they want to hire you, they can sponsor your visa.
Yeah,
it's a difficult pathway.
Definitely.
There's not like tons of companies out there, just because, like you said, Spanish companies are going to probably hire Spanish nationals.
And if not Spaniards, then
Europeans.
a European from the EU. Yeah.
So that's definitely the more challenging way, but it's definitely possible.
And a highly qualified professional visa. So if you have, a position that requires specialized skills as well, those are all possible. So that's going to be individual basis. So we're speaking broadly. For most people, that's not going to be the case, but it could be for you. Before we finish up, just some recommendations in case you are considering this move to Spain. Someone I think that is great to follow, including Two Bad Tourists, is James Blick. He is the co-founder of Devour, which is the food tour company that I work with here in Madrid. And he has a website called SpainRevealed.com, and he has a very prominent YouTube channel as well. And he just has great advice. You could also follow his newsletter. He does a masterclass on moving to Spain. So you can get a lot of good resources there. He is from New Zealand, but has been living in Madrid for, 15 plus years, something like that.
One of the other things I would definitely recommend is if you're going to apply for one of these visas, do work with an immigration attorney. They're actually not that expensive compared to, if you're an American. They're quite expensive in the US. Here, they're not so expensive. And, it's a big move. So you want to make sure that you are fully represented, and you're working with someone who can really help you, like, actually get this approved.
Yeah, I always think about navigating the ins and outs of the system, and they just, every small detail is important when you're doing such a big move, right? So you don't want to have an uncrossed T and an undotted I. You just want everything to go as smoothly as possible, because it is an arduous process. I'm not going to say it's not. It's difficult moving abroad.
It is. Oh yeah, definitely.
So having any way that can help you, just even a couple % more chance of getting that visa approved is going to be worth every penny.
Exactly. And just to give you like a ballpark, I think the two people that we talked about who got the remote work visa, I think they spent maybe around €1,000 more or less for the lawyer. So it's a chunk, but I mean, if
money
you're
well spent.
Yeah, I think it's money well spent.
And I'd also suggest study Spanish. If you don't speak Spanish already, start studying, start learning it. There are definitely Americans here in Madrid that I have met that don't speak Spanish. And they've been here maybe 10 years.
We know some other foreigners as well, like a German guy that's a friend of a friend that's been here forever, and he doesn't speak Spanish.
So you can get by without it. Your life will be more difficult because you really won't be able to integrate to the culture.
Right.
And when you do have to do some of the bureaucracy meetings and stuff, appointments that you'll need someone to go with you to get through that, because depending on where you are, but here in Madrid, the English level is generally low. Even if you can just get to like a beginner intermediate level, it's going to help you so much. And then of course, if you're interested in learning the language, I mean, immersion is the best way to learn. So you'll pick it up.
Get started before you come here, but then once you're here, you'll probably learn a lot more than any of the studying.
Yeah. And my pro tip on studying the language is do anything at all in that language that you find entertaining, because if it feels like homework, you don't want to do it, then you won't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So do anything. If it's reading, listening, watching a movies and TV, using an app, just whatever is going to be.
Anything that you can do.
Anything is better than nothing.
Exactly.
So I think that's about it.
Amazing. All right. Well, thanks everyone so much for listening. We hope you found this useful in case you're thinking of moving to Spain or, abroad to some other country. We hope we gave you some very good resources. Remember, if you like the show, please subscribe to it on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Please also leave us a 5-star review if you can on those platforms. If you enjoy our episode, that helps us in the rankings and get more reach. Of course, if you're watching live on any social media platform, you can leave us a comment. Be sure to like the post and maybe share it with your friends if you think they would enjoy it. And you can also follow us on social media. We're always at Too Bad Tourists. And lastly, please feel free to leave us a comment about what you want to hear more of, because we take those as
we
advice.
get some good ideas from people.
Good advice from our listeners.
On our next episode, we'll be talking to Richard, who is our travel writer with us at Too Bad Tourists. He just went to Nice in France for a long weekend, and he was there for Carnival.
Yeah, so it's the Carnival they celebrate in Nice, and they do a very specific LGBT version of the parade and have some events going on.
Okay,
so,
I was looking to you to explain next. So I don't know what it is.
David and I have actually been there. It's an awesome event, but we're going to get Richard's. We're going to get Richard's take on it.
I don't remember anything. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
We went in 2018, so it's been a while.
Okay. A lot has happened since then.
Yes,
All right. Until next time.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.